Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Nations round number 1 of the official championship. It's at Catalunya in Group 2, one of my favourite groups of car, and a nice track. I really like Catalunya. You can see some very big names in this lobby. You can see Tiara Lightning in P2, OVRD Thunder managed to get pole position. I managed a really good qualifying of P5, a 1 minute 35.3, which I was really happy about to put myself in P5. The grid was so close as well, all the way up to I think P10 was within half a second of each other. Not even, I think it was like 4 tenths all the way up to P10. So very close grid. You can see some very big names from the world of GT Sport, Favaris there in P9, and this shows you how well I qualified, that I actually managed to out-qualify some of these drivers. So this is a positive that I had to take from this race. Was, you know, the pace was 100% there. RC Mura in P11, you know, some of the biggest names in GT Sport. TX3 driver there was actually P1 in Europe on the top 10 stars leaderboard. RC Snake, another fast driver. Nestor Garcia, I think, is one of the very strong iRacing driver as well. So some very fast drivers in sim racing in this race. Alegna there also in P15, and it shows you the quality of the field. You go into the back of the grid and just look at these names that are at the back of the grid. To see the Williams driver there in P17, obviously didn't hook his lap up, but that's what happens in grids like these. You don't hook your lap up, but you're at the back. You can see Derek there, and at the back MR Steve Gaming, and all the way at the back was quite surprising to see Firestorm. Firestorm very strong in my opinion in Group 2, just wasn't hooking up his qualifying. He had the race pace 100%, but just wasn't hooking up his qualifying laps. As we now go to the start of the race, on board with myself as we start from P5. So the aim of this race was to try and get some good solid points. Obviously this was race number 2. I wasn't able to do race number 3 because I was having a night with the missus, so this was my final chance of getting some points. And the first race didn't go too well. We messed up qualifying, started right at the back. Actually put hard tyres on in the race on the front and mediums on the rear, which actually worked really well. Overall, in the race pace, it was actually one of the fastest ways to do the race. We tested it out, and you could see we actually were right behind. But once you were in the dirty air, there wasn't much you could do with the pace that we had, so it was a little bit frustrating. We did actually have better tyres and probably a faster cars than most people in race 1, but we wasn't really able to use that pace. But you can see in this race, right behind the car in front, Giorgio, I decided to short shift there, which actually put me under threat from the driver behind. So this was really complicated because I wanted to save fuel, but the driver in P6 was driving aggressive, and again through that I short shifted, whereas I think I should have been more aggressive at this stage of the race. Maybe not giving up that places so easy. You can see he takes advantage of that, obviously revving his Nissan out a lot more than what I was, and actually gaining the position on me. But I decided not to panic. I let him go and take that inside line. There was no point fighting it too much. I'm saving fuel at this early stage. I wanted to make sure that I had fuel towards the end of the race. I wanted to have a car that could drive down the straights and make some overtakes when people's tyres were feeling a little bit worn. So I was trying to do some fuel saving. You can see short shifting obviously, and then going into the braking zones and doing a lot of early short shifting in these areas here. But one thing I've learned since this doing this race is I went back and watched TRR Lightning as well, his race from his proper footage, and you can see he was messing around with the fuel mixture gauge a lot more. I need to get back into that because in Group 2, and I think it's not always about the fuel saving when you're doing it. You do save more fuel, obviously it definitely gives you an advantage with the fuel. However, it definitely gives you more of an advantage with the tyres as well, because when you move the mixture to level 2 or level 3, the front tyres take a lot less load. Then the power that's going to them rear tyres is not as much, so you're not putting as much load on the front tyres. So it definitely saves not only on rear tyre wear but on front tyre wear. So it's something that I'm going to start probably experimenting with a bit more when it is a fuel saving race. Not all races are going to be about fuel, but this one obviously was, because it was a no stop race. I think you could do a version of this track where you could have drove it flat out and then pitted, but it worked out that you came out so far behind, so far back, that with the amount of traffic that you would have here, as you see, getting under attack from the driver behind while trying to put the driver in front under pressure, it ended up being quite a risky strategy going in the pit. So you can see pretty much everyone in the race was going for the no stop strategy. You can see, you'll see it through this race, that no one was really going to pit. It wasn't worth it, it was too risky, as we're now just trying to hang on to the car in front, as Giorgio's putting TX3 Adam under a lot of pressure. TX3 Adam in the NSX was kind of holding some drivers up. You can see obviously I think he was on different tyres possibly, or trying to save a lot of fuel at the earlier stage, whereas some of the other drivers have gone very aggressive on this early stage. And maybe this is why I say maybe I should have been a little bit more aggressive and tried to get past these, you know, at the start. I don't think I would have had the pace to beat Giorgio or the driver in front of me on outright pace, but I think I had the pace to pretty much stay with them, because we're holding pace at the moment. Obviously, Giorgio's stuck behind TX3 Adam, but is he going to go for it down this straight now? This was the best opportunity for the GTR to go for a move on the NSX because of the straight line advantage, and if the NSX has to do more fuel saving, which it does, he's going to probably do it down the straight. As you can see, Giorgio goes over to the right hand side, makes that move, and he gets himself up into P3. So a nice move by Giorgio 57 there. And now it's all about seeing if this driver in front of me can actually make a move. At this stage, you can see I'm doing a lot of short shifting and fuel saving. I wasn't being aggressive. I was just trying to see what happens. If they start fighting, I gain time on them. As you can see, very aggressive dive to the inside there. But is he going to be able to make that work? Probably not. They're going to go side by side, which is, again, beneficial for me because I'm short shifting, saving fuel, and I'm not losing any time to them. So at this stage of the race, things are looking quite good for me, because I'm pretty sure that we would have had at least equal fuel to some of the drivers ahead of me, or maybe slightly more, and we're looking after our tyres. We're not going offline, we're keeping it nice and smooth, we're maintaining like consistent speed through the corners, we're not really losing the rear, so everything was going okay and looking quite good. But you can see again there, looking behind us on the left hand side, the names, we've got Favaris up into P8 behind us, behind the NSX, so he's looking to make some ground, and he's only got to get past that NSX and then he'll be right behind me. But like I say, one thing I tend not to do with Favaris is fight him too much, because I know 100% he is faster than me. I will obviously put up a battle as much as I can, but once I feel like it's more of a loss to myself fighting it, I would have probably let him go. I've done it before with Favaris. I kind of just let him go and try and hang on in the slipstream, because it makes more sense to do that. As you see, going out the final corner, is the driver in front of me now in the GTR going to be able to make a move on that NSX into turn 1? This is the area where everyone seems to be going for it on the NSX. It just doesn't have the straight line speed, and he easily does that, as the NSX obviously goes into fuel mixture 6 to try and save some fuel down the straight. So now it's my turn to see if I can make that move work on that start straight. You can see again though, now we're going to start picking up that dirty air from the car in front as we try and find the way past. You can see Zed Kip, I call him. I know a lot of people will say that's not his name, it's Skip, but I call him Zed because his name's Zed on the thing, so that's what we call him. I don't know if he ever watches any of his videos, but I'm nice. I'd actually like to know how he actually pronounces his name properly. But you can see in front of me now, we've got TX3 Adam, very fast driver, but in the NSX probably was not the best car for this track. However, it did give you the best qualifying opportunity. I did say this in the pre-lobby testing that we did from the day before. We found that the NSX was really good at getting you a good qualifying place, but in the race trim it wasn't as good. But you can see now I'm managing to get right behind this NSX now and looking to try and make a move, but look how many cars are so close. Look how close this race is. We're on lap 4 and we've got a bit of a gap to the car behind for Favaris there. A little bit of a cushion there as he's obviously trying to make his way forward now, and then there's a little bits of gaps every now and then, but it's just a constant line of cars, so one mistake will cost you massively in this race. A little spin or any sort of mistake is going to cost a lot of time as we attack the chicane, trying to get a nice strong exit so we can make a move on this start straight, because this is where we're going to be able to make it move if we're going to make it happen. As we pick up that slipstream, and you're going to see I'm just going to rev the car out a bit more. You can see nearly hitting the end of the rev limit. You don't actually lose too much race pace with the GTR if you shift just before the end, and we get a massive slipstream. He lifts off. He looks like he was going to go defensive, but then probably thought not worth it, because he could see I was already on the inside and going for that move. And now we've got to try and see if we can hold pace with the driver in front of me. You can see he's got quite a big gap in front of us. So now we're going to have to keep that short shift in, but just try and see if we can get a bit closer to them or maintain the pace to Giorgio in the car in front. And if we could end up, at this point I was really excited, because I was thinking if I can end up in the top 5 or 6 positions, that will do me. It wouldn't have been massive points, because obviously it would have been over 2k, but it wouldn't have been huge points, which you do need. But at the end of the day, this was my final chance at a race, so if I could pick up something, it would have been really good to pick up some points. You see Favaris has made that move on TX3 Adam. I was hoping TX3 Adam was going to be able to hold Favaris up for a little bit longer, but Favaris' pace in these Group 2 cars was insane. It's such a shame that he wasn't able to get that qualifying lap in, because I really think if he would have got a much better qualifying in, he could have put Lightning under a bit more pressure, but he wasn't able to hook the lap up in qualifying, which is a real shame. It's one area where I think Favaris, if one area I would say that Favaris could do with working on, it would. This is meant as no disrespect to him, but it's probably qualifying, because his race pace is amazing. I've said it from day one. His pace in like Group 2 or like Group 3 is unbelievable. As we make a huge mistake there in front of Favaris, you can see I tried to 360 spin it, but the car didn't actually rev out, and we ended up going across the track. We were ghosted, and there was a bit of contact with another car when we were actually ghosted. The other car didn't seem to lose any time at all, maybe a second if that, but we got huge damage. Look at the damage on our car. We got full engine damage and right front damage. So down this straight now, we were just a sitting duck as everyone goes past us. So we've gone from I think it was P5 or P6 all the way down to P17 and now P18. So that was a massive shame, and I was a little bit gutted at that mistake, because it did cost me so much, and I really was. It was really gutting, and it was a shame. But we carried on racing and tried to just get to the end, because this was our last chance of racing. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do the last race. It's a shame, because I think if we were able to do that last race, I think we could have picked up some big points, because we would have had a couple of drivers that wouldn't have been in that lobby. I think maybe 2 or 3 of the. I think the top 3 might not have raced again, and that would have put us in really good position to get a top 3 qualifying position and go for a top 3. But unfortunately for ourselves, we couldn't do that race. Obviously, other things to do as well. I can't always do every race, and that's one of the reasons why I'm still not a massive fan of the structure they use in GT Sport 4. I do prefer this way to the one they had where you could just race every slot and it picked your best results. I do prefer this way where it's only your last race that counts. However, my favourite one was just the one shot. You pick a time slot, the pressure's on, you mess up, that's it. I did like that way of doing things, but obviously disconnect issues that people had probably caused was one of the reasons for them changing it. As you can see, they're trying to hold on to Firestorm now. Now we're in the dirty air with a car that's probably took a bit of tyre life out as we spun round. So unfortunately for ourselves, a little bit we were a little bit disheartened at this point. You do tend to lose a bit of rhythm, and you do tend to lose a bit of motivation when you have an incident like that. So we just tried to hang on and finish this race. As we now jump through to lap 8, as you can see there, it was fairly static for a few laps. We were just behind Firestorm, not really been able to make much ground up with the dirty air. Obviously, he was stuck behind the dirty air of Derek as well. As MR Steve Gaming's had some sort of issue. He seems like he's really struggling with them tyres in front of Firestorm, and now we go into the corner, just trying to get a solid exit from this chicane. We actually nearly cut that and had to kind of back out the corner slightly, so we lost a bit of ground. You can see as we go down the straight, we lost a bit of ground. Lost a bit of the slipstream as Firestorm makes a move on the inside of MR Steve Gaming. And now, are we going to be able to make a move on MR Steve Gaming? He seems to be struggling quite a bit now at this point of the race. Obviously, we only got a few laps to go now as we go through the first chicane, and you can see there, Firestorm makes that move into turn 1. But you can see, going into this right-hand fast corner, we're going to try and upshift into 5th gear as we go through the corner and use some of our fuel up. I seen that I wanted to try and get myself ahead of MR Steve Gaming, because you know, every bit of points counts in these races, and also I wanted to avoid losing driver rating, because obviously qualifying 5th, as you see, a massive moment for MR Steve Gaming there. Obviously, if you qualify, we qualified right up there. I was looking forward to, you know, picking up some points again and getting my driver rating back up. But after that incident, it knocked us all the way down. We lost about 15 seconds, I think, at least with that incident, and then we got stuck in this traffic, which lost us more. You can see there is a massive inside. I decided to take advantage of that, go up the inside and try and make a move. And made quite a nice move there to put myself up 1 position. So obviously fighting for the scraps at the back, but every position counts. You know, it might not be much, but it's a few extra points. Obviously this round will probably not count for me anyway, which is a shame, because this could have been a very strong round for me. You know, we've seen with the pace I had in qualifying that we definitely had the pace here. So it was a shame that we couldn't do the last race, but like I say, we had other plans. So now we're just going to try and see if we can get to the end of this race with as any sort of position we can, as we go into the chicane for the final time and nearly lose the rear again, and just about managed to save it. But MR Steve Gaming is going to have a line on the inside there. I try and give him space. He's got the space on the inside, but you see he has a massive moment on the rear, and actually it looks like he hits me a bit, but he definitely didn't hit me. But I did at the moment on the stream, I think I thought that he might have tried to take me out, but he didn't. It was just a moment on the rear end. I think I realised straight away that his rear had gone, and it kind of snapped on him. But luckily I managed to save that and keep myself into P16. So now we've lost a bit more time. You can see Firestorm's gone quite a way up ahead there. You can see he's managed to gain quite a bit of time now with just 2 laps to go. So we're quite a few seconds back after that incident. Again, that chicane, one thing I find is when you've had an incident in a race where you've lost it on the chicane like that, you find yourself so tentative through them parts of the track that you either, one, lose time because you're not taking it properly, or two, do the same mistake again because you're just not confident going into that corner. So hopefully if we ever have this combination come up, I can repair the damage and get a really good result, because I think the potential is definitely there. We had the race pace was definitely good enough to pick up a good position because we were managing to hold on and we had good fuel. We overtook TX3 Adam. It was looking like a top 5 or 6 position, especially with the fact that I think if you have a look on the thing there, P3 is now the driver that was just ahead of us. I think OVRD Fonda either had fuel issues, tyre issues, or a penalty issue. I don't know exactly what happened, but he dropped down the order quite drastically. So he had problems as well, which is a shame because it meant we would have probably been on for a top 5 position. I think for Varus also, very good pace. Was he able to, I think he got himself, I don't know if he actually got himself into the top 3 or not, or top 4, sorry. We'll have a little look when we get to the finish of this race. But you can see they're going through the final corner for the penultimate time. We've got one more lap to go now. You see, we've managed to get a little bit closer to Firestorm on that lap, trying the push, obviously. I think I seen him actually pick up half a second penalty, so I was really trying to push then and use some of the fuel up to see if I can get past him when he has to take his penalty, because he's going to have to take it on that straight before the tight hairpin. And you can see he actually cuts that corner there a bit. He took too much of that corner off and actually picked up a little bit more of a penalty, which actually meant I was probably going to be able to overtake him. You can see he's pushing really hard. I'm pushing really hard as well. This is why I saved the fuel as well, because I wanted to have the fuel to drive quite aggressively on that final lap when people's tyres were gone, because they're the best opportunity to do is to make a move when people's tyres are going, on the straights. That's where you're going to be able to make the move, because through the corners they're going to be really slow on the power. If you can get good traction, you might be able to make a move, but we're definitely closing in on them again after that mistake on the chicane. And this is where I was thinking, well, I should be able to make the pass on Firestorm, because he's going to have quite a big penalty. I think it was like 1 second, 1.2, but with I think they've now fixed the penalty system on this game, on the FIA lobbies, so that you can't cheat it with the braking. So it definitely was a glitch. You can see he takes that 1 second, but actually loses more than that. He loses about 2 seconds. So we're up into P15, not where I wanted to finish after the qualifying, but every position counts, like I say. And it might mean a little bit less off the driver rating to keep us in the top splits. I want to stay in these top splits for FIA. There is some drivers that I think a few people have spotted it as well, that are deliberately tanking their driver rating to make sure that they're not in top split races. It is something that I think even Tidgney said people will start doing, and I think he's actually was 100% correct that there is actually a case that people are doing that now. We've spotted it. There's a few drivers that have spotted it, and it's one of them. I'm not worried. They can do that. I would rather be racing in the top splits as much as possible. So I'm going to try and keep my drive rating as high as possible and keep myself in the highest ranked lobbies. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that video. I apologise for the mistake. It was really frustrating. Hopefully we can get some more luck through some of the races. We've got a long season ahead of us. We've got 40 races, so I'm sure we'll pick up some really strong points in some of these. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with more streams and practicing for the FIA lobbies that we'll be on, hopefully, the next FIA race on Wednesday. So make sure you check them out. Give the channel a subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Click that notifications button so you don't miss any future videos. And give it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video. Thanks again for watching, everyone.